Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is obviously our weekend preview. We've got some action at Cheltenham with the December meeting, and we're covering 3 races at Doncaster. Essentially, everything across Doncaster and Cheltenham over the course of Saturday. The eagle-eyed viewers of you may have noticed it's not just the 3 of us previewing the weekend. Really glad to be joined by Steve, of course, from Oddschecker and Racing TV. Appreciate your time, Steve. So we'll start with yourself. How are things?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, I could do with tipping a few more winners towards the end of the month, but yeah, I think we're all in that situation, aren't we?
No, absolutely. I couldn't concur enough. Yeah, at 100%. The main man, Joe, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, but better not talk about tips. I had a 2 point win on one today that fell at the first, so I hope my week's going to get better from that anyway. But yeah, all good. I'm really good and delighted to have Steve on as well, of course.
Saving all your luck for the festive period.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what we'll
And
say anyway.
last but not least, the most loved man in the comments for the last few weeks. I can't get enough of him. Jamie, mate.
I don't know about that.
They don't know him like we do,
You
Liam. They don't know
you
him
want
like we
to
do.
you want to retract your statement. You want to say I'm the main man, not Joe.
Mm, yeah,
Okay. You
Watch
started
Joe's face.
diplomatic
He
and then you
doesn't like
went
that.
real
Strawberry
arrogant.
blonde head, not ginger Joe anymore.
bit of grey as well. Things are
Yeah, a bit of
changing.
grey
Things
on top.
change.
I have a bit of grey, all right, but still, the Just for Men is still working.
I might have to rebrand at some point. It's climbing up the
Uh,
face. It won't be long, I'm sure.
Perfect. We'll get stuck into it then, boys. We'll go through the first 5 races we're going to cover at Cheltenham, and then we'll move across to Doncaster. So in the 1:15, the first race that will be televised on ITV, we've got the intermediate trip Mares Handicap Chase. She is, for me, boys, is current favourite from what I'm looking at, co-favourite with the One We Dream Of. Then we've got Realtor Leath, Kalista Love, and then JP Horse in at 10 to 1, 14 to 1, bar that. Steve, as the guest, no pressure, but I'll start with you. What do you make of this race? Is there something that's that you would consider a bet in this?
I was at Kempton for Racing TV when She Is For Me Boys beat I Love the Nightlife, who was bidding to win that race for a second year in a row. She Is For Me Boys beat her by 5.5 lengths that day, despite nearly getting knocked over at the first. If you haven't actually watched that and you've only watched the closing stages, just go back and watch that first fence because something just jumps across her and she does well to stand up, to be honest. So you can probably upgrade that performance. She's really lightly raced. She won a point to point. She won 2 novice hurdles by 14 lengths and 6.5 lengths. So the opening mark of 104 was a complete guess that day. She was really well backed. That was at a time where Jamie Snowden was in really good form. He remains in good form. I think he's still operating above a 33% strike rate at the minute. She runs here off only £7 higher. I thought that was quite lenient, to be honest. It's just whether she copes with those tricky Cheltenham fences, really, for a horse that inexperienced going in to a mare's handicap chase in a bigger field than she faced at Kempton, and obviously a tougher track that will test her jumping. But I thought she was a worthy favourite, to be honest. And I thought if there was one that had 5, 6, £7 in hand over the handicapper, I thought it was her.
Fair enough. Joe, the One We Dream Of, a worthy second, well, co-favourite based on the prices I'm currently looking at in front of me. Another one that's moved to Dan Skelton,
Mm.
seemingly improved, second first time out, improved for that run, then won on last appearance. Would you be more taken by her, or is there something else in the field?
I would. She's actually my selection here. I'd like a little bit of an each way bet to nothing. She's being backed already into 5 to 1. I can't really see this mare out of the places. She is by French Navy, who of course Marine Nationale sire, French ship. Horses that generally do quite well for speed, but this is a mare that seems to do much better as actually she's gone out in trip. She's really straightforward. Like you said, she's had 2 starts since leaving Gavin Cromwell to join Dan Skelton. And she started off by finishing second at Chepstow over 2 mile 3. But next time when she went up to 3 miles, which she hadn't been that far with Gavin Cromwell, she was excellent. She made a couple of howlers early, so she was on the back foot a long way out, but she travelled well, got herself back into the race, and she was well in command at the top of the straight as well. So like Steve said, really, with She Is For Me Boys, I think the One We Dream Of is another £5 rise is hardly going to do too much damage to her chances. And the fact that she showed so much improvement going up to 3 miles makes me think that she's probably just been at the wrong trip the whole time. She's a really powerful mare, very straightforward. You can ride it from the front or from the back. I can't really see her being too far away, Liam, and I'd be happy to back her now each way at 5 to 1 for this race. Yeah.
There we are. Jamie, have the lads already got this covered with the top two, or is there something else lurking?
No, I totally agree with Joe. Echo everything what he says. I know I was trained by Gavin Cromwell before. I know it was in the low hundreds, but look, low hundreds in the UK is probably low 120s, and sorry, in Ireland, sorry, low hundreds is probably low 120s in the UK. So I think she's scope for improvement off 117. She only about £5 for the 3 miles race at Exeter, and if the ground keeps drying out, hopefully, and there's no more rain, I can't see her. I think she's an each way to bet to Nottingham. I struggle with the race, to be honest with you. Would I'd say she's an absolute good thing? No. But an each way to bet to Nottingham, the one we dream of, yeah. After that, I have no interest in anything else.
And you wouldn't be shy and forthcoming if you did think something was a good thing either, would you, Jack?
No, I would not. No.
Good man, good man.
What do you think of me wee Bonnie Lass here for Cromwell and Donahue? Their only runner of the day. Anyone sort of had a bit of a look at her at all? She has some pretty decent back form. I just think it's quite interesting that Cromwell's hit form the last week. He started to have a few winners, a few seconds, and now that the horses are starting to fire, I wouldn't put you off taking a second glance at her each way, especially if the money came. She's a strong traveller as well, like a lot of these Irish horses are. They travel all over us for most of the way. If I'd keep a bit of a market check on her as well, Liam.
There you are. Cheap pieces on for the first time. That may eke out a little bit more improvement as well. So yeah, a nice double figure price there from Joe as well for those that would rather play towards the middle or bottom of the market.
Can I just jump in there just for a sec? Like,
Course.
Gavin Cromwell still is just worth backing at Cheltenham as well. Like coming over for these October, November, December meetings, obviously he's got a good record at the festival, but loading him overall at Cheltenham in his career is 18 from 116, so 16% strike rate. So the fact that the cheap pieces are on, you don't think that she's coming around for a sighter, really.
There we go.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, he did have another jocked up in the race that we're about to cover. That horse, I think, was probably fishing for a handicap mark. Obviously, the horse I'm alluding to is Will the Wise. Saw a lot of support in the market as well from an Ante-Post perspective earlier in the week. Yet to be pulled, and no doubt will turn up in the Kinmure, I'm sure, come the festival time. But Jaguar...
Will you?
Too late. Cat's out the bag. Everyone knows, Jamie. The 150, obviously the main race on the day. Jaguar was meant to line up here. And to my delight, given that he was one that I suggested nobody should be back in from an Ante-Post perspective earlier in the season, that was very much more luck than it was skill. He just had a little bit of a setback, I think, or was it the ground went against him? Obviously, a course and distance winner at the festival. Vincenzo really well backed at 9-2 in second favourite. Holy Joe Smoke, yet another one of the Skeltons who's been well supported into fives. And then you've got Kim Rock, Colonel Harry, who of course won the Grand Sefton. We'll go in reverse order. Jamie, make some sense of this. Looks really competitive. What do you fancy?
Well, if Jaguar wants to be a graded horse, he wants to be winning off this off 148. But I will leave him first time out, Liam. I would, yeah. Vincenzo obviously second to Panic Attack, who obviously emphatically showed the form in the old Coral Gold Cup Hennessy. Holy Joe Smoke 5-1. I think that'd be my pick. I think the more the ground dries out, the more Holy Joe Smoke has a chance. I think obviously on the old track in October over the 3 miles, one was beaten by 3 car bag, travelled by like the best horse in the race. So the new track for me will suit him better, a bit more stamina laden than the old track. So 5-1, he'd be my main pick. But my second pick, I can't leave S Perfecto go on better ground. Obviously fourth last year to Caldwell Potter last year in the novice handicap. Travel like probably very well behind Caldwell Potter in the race. I see with 40-1 during the week, now it's 18-1. Can't see it out of the first 3 or 4, to be honest with you. Ran well in the Paddy Power, but wasn't obviously in love with the ground. My slight worry is that O'More Park, Nürburgring, and anyway, haven't done really much for the form in Ireland. But look, if S Perfecto is ever going to have his day, it's a 10-year-old now, so they're going to have one big pot. And this could be the day. But my main pick would be Holy Joe Smoke. Horses have good form, great record coming from the Paddy Power Gold Cup. So hopefully it dries out for Holy Joe Smoke and Es Perfecto each way for me.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I looked at the race cards for Friday earlier in the week, and it was described as heavy. I know Cheltenham drains well. It's not good to soft, surely. He's going to bucket it down tomorrow. It's going to be deep ground, isn't it? Or am I wrong?
I haven't really had a close enough look, to be honest. I've gone on what we've got at the moment. So if there is a lot of rain coming, that's news to me, to be honest. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I haven't checked unless the other lads have at all.
We had Ed Quigley on Racing Weekly on Tuesday, and he lives literally like it's in his back door, and he said that there's plenty of rain around. But he, like you said, it drained so fast. He said that he was aiming for kind of soft ground. But yeah, I'd be surprised if it's good to soft come Saturday.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. As Perfecto, Jamie, funnily enough, is one that I actually put up for the Paddy Power Gold Cup. So maybe I might have been one meeting too quick. So if that is the case, you'll be the beneficiary of my losses the last day. Steve, what do you like for the December Gold Cup?
Yeah, you touched on a trend there. The horses coming from the Paddy Power Gold Cup, 6 of the last 11 have come from the Paddy Power Gold Cup. Vincenzo is another one there. I watched with Jamie the Paddy Power Gold Cup. I was cheering on Ho Jody Smoke. Just didn't quite get going at the right sort of time, but I think he'll be bang there again. I'm not sure Cheltenham's his track. He was a bit of a weak finisher against Three Car Bragg. Was a bit of a weak finisher in the Paddy Power Gold Cup as well. I'm just not sure that Cheltenham might be the track for him. I did a trends piece for Oddschecker. The one that ticks them all is Vincenzo. That was with regards to ratings, weights, days since last run, and age. And yeah, obviously the stat around running in the Paddy Power Gold Cup last time. Obviously, as Jamie has touched on, finished second behind Panic Attack. That's been boosted in the Coral Gold Cup. She's now rated £12 higher. He's only rated £2 higher, but it is worth noting that Dylan Johnston has since lost his £3 claim since then. So you could argue that it's £5 higher from them. But a lot of the Sam Thomas yard were primed, ready for their reappearances. So I wouldn't say that he's going to step forward from that reappearance run, but I thought he was rock solid.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Steve. Joe, you're 1 from 1 in these intermediate trip chases at Cheltenham. So maybe you can go through every single month, because there's definitely appears to be one of these races every single month. Obviously, you tipped up Panic Attack at a nice price. Have you got the winner for us this month?
I don't know if I've got the winner, but there's a really intriguing runner here called Kim Rock. Actually has an official rating of 125, but runs there off 128, obviously, because he's actually slightly out the handicap. But he was actually purchased from the excellent Daniela Mele yard over in France and had a pretty decent set of credentials from those sort of overseas races. His debut for Joseph O'Brien was obviously here last month, and it was more importantly eye-catching the fact that he pecked a few times on landing early on in the race. But it didn't seem to faze me, just sat straight back on the bridle. He's coming here for a second start, which is obviously quite, again, you've got to be a really versatile horse to come here and handle Cheltenham off the back of what he's been doing sort of over at Auteuil. And the quality of opposition in behind him that day, he beat horses like Jigs Forge and Queensbury Boy. And that was just on his first British start. At his age, you'd probably expect him to be ahead of his mark as well. And like I said, although he sort of goes into this race out of the handicap on paper, there's clearly more improvements come for him. It's probably also quite noteworthy that Ronnie Bartlett was happy to purchase him as well, which is just a positive sign within itself. And his pedigree probably only adds to that appeal, really, as well. He's by Beaumac de Hooley, who's just another one of these horses producing winners left, right, and centre this side of the water. So the fact that he's got some strong form, which he's likely to improve on, off a really low mark coming from France, and the fact that Joseph O'Brien is more than happy to bring him back for a second start here, he could be absolutely thrown in this weekend. It's no surprise to see him into about 13-2 at the moment. Yeah, look, he could be a real class horse that we just haven't really heard too much of at the moment. He was a big eye catcher last time out, so yeah, I think Kimbrough would be one to chance. I'd like Imperial Saint if this was a flatter track. Jaguar, I think, is going to run a massive race here the closer we get, but I'm deeply intrigued by Kim Rock coming from a real strong outfit in France to do what he's done so far. There's plenty more to come, I think, from this Gelding, yeah.
Obviously, little mentions for Colonel Harry. It was mentioned that potentially he would come back here, Joe, when we did the season preview with Jamie Snowden. This would potentially be the target. He caught us off guard by sending us to Aintree, and he was a real good winner of the Sefton, wasn't he? Do you think he's done his winning and freshness is the key to him?
No, I think there's probably a little bit more to come from him. He ran himself an honest race, that's for sure. He's a pretty solid jumper. He wasn't quite right last year. Jamie had made a point that he'd been quite cautious about, his targets last year. So although I'm sure he's pretty geared up for his first assignment this season, I think there'll be plenty more to come from him. He's He's not finished yet. Yeah, there'll be more to come. So you can't write him off. And conditions for him will be ideal with a nice bit of soft ground round Cheltenham. Yeah, he's a likable sort as well. But I can't get away from Kim Rock at the moment off this bottom weight. I think he's potentially 15-20 pounds well in this horse. So he could be again another good each way bet. I think there Liam 13-2. More than happy.
Perfect. To confuse matters even further, I think if the rain doesn't come yesterday, the forecast was that it was going to be a deluge pretty much through from midnight this evening up until around about 2 p.m. tomorrow. I'll be hoping that is the case because my best bet of the weekend actually comes on Friday, but Saturday will definitely be soft, if not soft to heavy. If that were the case, I think Il Rodotto's chances would be blunted. But I was really taken by his performance at Chepstow. He just wouldn't go past, but I think that's because they potentially had a different target in mind, which was the initial Paddy Power Gold Cup in November. The ground went against him that day. Obviously, he's got the course and distance form around here. So providing the rain doesn't come, and I'll be waiting until the off essentially to see what ground conditions are really like. But Il Rodotto would be my place. So I've muddied the waters even further. Just side with which one of us you trust in the most, I suppose, because we've covered about 5 of the field. We will move on to the 225, the handicap chase. We've got David's well at the top of the market, 11-4, JPR1, 4-1, Accelero, 9-2, Country Mile, 13-2, Triple Trade, good winner last time out, who's very well handicapped. He's been seeing some money over the course of the week, and then Gunsight Bridges 14-1 bar. Steve, we'll start with yourself. What do you like, if anything, in here?
Yeah, it's not the strongest opinion. It's probably the weakest of my selections for the whole card, to be honest. I've been with Country Mile, beat Wingman in the novice hurdle at this meeting last year. That was a career best performance. Has finished behind Al Nalam on both of his chase starts so far. Thought was given educational rides on both of those. But the only negative with that is that his jumping suffered as a result. Hopefully, he's had a fair bit of schooling since then. He's been off for 50 days. I noticed this handicap's worth 25 grand to the winner. So that's going to be more than what he's been running in previously. So whether this has been the long-term target, I'm not sure. I think he is better than a mark of 137. But with that yard, you don't quite know if this is going to be the day. But the fact that was kind of held up, and I did think that hindered his jumping at that point. I thought around 13-2 would be my selection. But like I said, it isn't the strongest of opinions for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that potentially that horse, who I'm a massive fan of, I've banged on about him, his performance beating Wingmen when he was hard held crossing the line last December, as you alluded to, Stevie. I thought he was mightily impressive, and I had him on my radar for a county hurdle last season. I think perhaps they might have one day in mind at Cheltenham, and perhaps this weekend isn't it. But I suppose we will find out if that is the case this weekend. Mr. Wrenn, Country Mile, or is there something else for you in here that you like?
I really want to back Country Mile, but I probably have egg in my face because exactly what you alluded to, Liam. I think, you know what Steve's saying, he should be better than 137. So surely God, he's running around these races to get lower than 137. And then there's one target in mind for March. So I'm going to leave him go on Saturday. Hopefully he doesn't win. I'll put it that way with you. The one I like, it's unoriginal. I think it's between two, Liam. Excel Aero, who obviously ran its 3-runner race at Warwick, who's a front runner and is a good jumper. But you see it's there, it's back from 8-1 to 9-2 best price at the moment. But I think Excel Aero will go out in front. I backed David's well the last day at Haydock. No offence to Freddie Gordon. I'm so happy that Harry Copton's on. They're off the same mark, 128. I can visualise the race. Excel Aero will go out in front, and with Kieran Gettings for Jane Williams, and David Wells will track it. Hopefully jump to second last. Away go at the last. David's well jumps to last. Has a little bit of turn of foot. I know he was kind of all over the place when he got to the front at Haydock the last day, but I thought there was loads in hand. He's up £6 from the last day. I still think he's well handicapped. I know he's up in grade, but I think Cobden booked is a tip in itself, so I will go with David's well, and I think he'll win. But obviously a huge eye on Country Mile.
Absolutely. Joe, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm with David's well as well. Really sort of lightly raced prospect. He's got a strike rate now of 50%. He's won 4 of his 8 starts to date. 3 for 3 over fences as well. This week's task definitely represents a bigger challenge for him as well, coming here to Cheltenham, but he does have a bit of Chepstow form, which is obviously quite sort of similar, plenty of sort of undulations. You need to, be a good sound jumper. You need plenty of balance. And he just looks like a horse that's coming forward run for run. The fact that he managed to win so well off a 330-day break as well was definitely appealing. I know that the yard are in good form at the moment, but in a race where a lot of his rivals here don't necessarily look like they're thrown in or necessarily ahead of the market, he is the one that looks to be clearly well treated. Obviously, like Jamie said, adding the good stable form and Harry Cobden in the saddle as well, it's easy to see why he makes plenty of appeal. You are only getting 11-4 about him in a 2-mile handicap chase at Cheltenham, which is always a little bit risky, but I think he's the right favourite and probably going to have plenty of stamina up the Cheltenham Hill. So, yeah, I'll be with David's well as well.
Perfect. Dr. TJ Eckelberg was one that I put up, I think, the last day and has kind of caught my eye. I've not gone through this card in any sort of depth, so I wouldn't be able to offer a complete note or opinion, but he'd be one that I want to have a little bit more of a look at. But Country Mile has been on my radar since I saw him bolt up last December. Whether it be for the festival itself, or whether it be this weekend, he's definitely got wins in him. So yeah, certainly one to keep on the radar. Another one that's definitely on the radar when it comes to staying novice hurdling is Conman John. Won really well the last day behind Great Fleet. I saw that he went and won earlier this or last week. So obviously that form's been franked. He's been installed into the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle Grade 2 in the 3 o'clock at Cheltenham as 11-8 favourite. They call me Hugo. He's second fav at 7-2. Reckless Spending 11-2 and 9-1 bar. Joe, does anything get involved other than the top 3 in here? You've got one who's second time up for Ollie Murphy. They call me Hugo, obviously with Sean Bowen on board, who's had a few heroics around this course over the course of this season already. And Conman John has obviously been a nice winner the last twice.
Yeah, look, I think Conman John's a really, really likeable horse. I think what's been most impressive about him, to be honest, is if you take a look at his profile before his 2 wins over hurdles, you'd have said he's a horse that is screaming out, for a nice bit of soft ground. But he won over 2 mile 4 and 3 miles on good ground. And even though he won a good start, he definitely looked like a horse that would prefer a little bit of cut, just the way that he moves. But I think, again, for that reason, you can only sort of mark up that performance. Now, when you go and take a look at the second favourite here, They Call Me Hugo at 7-2. Conman John's already on a mark of 135. He's got to be a 140 horse. Based on what They Call Me Hugo's done so far and what Reckless Spending have done so far, I think they've got to jump a long way from what they have done whilst they're here at Cheltenham this weekend to get close to him myself. I think the 11-8 is a good price. He was actually 11-10, so he's drifted a little bit since declarations, but it's going to take a mightily good performance to beat him. And the fact that there's a little bit more cut in the ground now should suit him even more, because I wouldn't have fancied him on those good conditions, but he's found it no trouble. And it'd be nice, for owners to have a Hoist in your Maya Town and then have Conman John coming through. It'd be great for the yard as well. I think he can give £3 to this lot and win fairly comfortably myself. Yeah.
Obviously, personally, I'll play towards bigger prices. It's just my general MO, but it doesn't mean to say there's not value towards the top of markets. Of course, there's not. Of course, there is. Joe, would you have him odds on?
No, but I could see him going off if they were odds on sort of thing, So that's why I think he's a bet right now. But I wouldn't back him right now at odds on. But just see what happens with the market on the morning of, and he could go off around 10-11 still. So I think the 11-8 is a good bet. Like I said, I'm surprised he drifted. It probably isn't going to drift any further, because then the price just gets too big. He's a bet. He's a bet for me this week. He's probably one of the better bets as well.
Oh, there you are. Strong suggestion from Joe in that case. Steve, would you be in agreement, or is there something else in the field you like?
I'm in agreement on the form line. I think Casino de Mart is going to get a lot closer to him than what they did at the October meeting. Annoyingly, come declarations, there's obviously only 7 runners, so the each way ploy has kind of gone a little bit with him. I backed him Ante-Post 3 places in this. I just thought he was the one that is going to relish these testing conditions over 3 miles. I was there at Kempton on Racing TV, looking at him in the paddock. He's a big 3-mile chaser of the future. I was against him that day when he was dropped back down to 2 mile 5 at Kempton, but he beat Fresh Kicks, a horse of Nicky Henderson's that looks quite smart, has boosted that form, winning by 6 lengths at Plumpton on his next start. If you go back and watch Casino de Mart when he was beaten 19 lengths by Conman John, he was just a bit clueless, and Showed his inexperience, I suppose. He did win a point to point, but I just thought throughout that race, he just didn't really know what he was doing on the track. So he should have grown up a lot since then. The Tizzards generally this season have been coming on for their first run, so I think you could probably excuse that. And that was kind of good to soft ground that day. I think this is going to be a lot more testing, and I thought he's a guaranteed improver going back up to 3 miles. I mean, I backed him sort of a similar sort of price with 3 places. So whether you want to use bookmakers where you can get extra places and bits and pieces for him to get into the 3, I think it will take a lot for him to turn it around with Conman John, but I see him getting a lot closer than the 19 lengths of last time.
There you are, perfect. So yeah, there will be bookmakers around, probably offering 3. So as Steve's alluded to, take advantage of that if possible. Love that 16-1, 5th in the betting. Jamie, where do you land on this?
Oh, I think it's just pure simple. Liam, to honest, 11th date, I think is buying money. I think he should be odds on, exactly what you said. I'm just going back, Liam, to the bumper that I keep alluding to with Common John. I'm still waiting for Soldier Milan and King Rasco Grey. But Risk Away was very impressive last day, Turles. Espresso Milan won very well. Obviously was trained by Fergal at the time, but now has gone to Willie Mullins. Won today at Punchestown. Stick to the Plan as a Persian Moor winner. Majak Sills won Maiden Hurls. Eclipse Chaser for Willie Mullins has won races. I mean, like, if he wants to be considered as an Albert Bartlett horse, comment John, he'd want to be winning this. I get the Casino de Mott angle, but it's still 19 lengths to catch up. I know Casino de Mott was clueless the last day, but the form of that bumper in Punchestown is worth its weight in gold, I think. And he was impressed last day. Obviously, Great Fleet came out and won at Kelso, so the weekend. So 11th date, I think, is a steal of a price if you're into sharp prices and that, because I honestly think he should be odds on and he should win it.
There you are. A strong mention from Jamie in that case. Stick him in all your muggy yakkers and back him outright by the sounds of it. He definitely represents value. The last race we're going to cover at Cheltenham, the 3:35. I was really looking forward to seeing Jubilee Alpha on her first start of the season. I think that was at Exeter. She ended up finishing 2nd that day. Loads of Paul Nicholls' runners have come forward for that run. Jamie, do you expect the same here? Is she the one to beat? We've got Sweet Caroline in as second favourite at 4s. And then we got the likes of Nurse Susan in here and Game Colours second time up after a wind up. But is it just all about the favourite? Is this another one that's actually a little bit of a too big a price?
No, I really like one here. It's trained by Fergal O'Brien. It's Shio Gal. I think it ran
That's why I skipped it, Jamie. I wanted you to pronounce it.
Shio Gal, yeah, which means bright fairy in English terms. Yeah, a bit of a fairy, all right. But it's getting £18 this time from Jubilee Alpha, where it ran, I think, last year against it. It was only £2 of the difference. So work that out for yourself. 5-2 against 9-2, and an £16 swing. So to be honest with you, Liam, all jokes aside, Sweet Caroline obviously beat Jubilee Alpha at Wincanton. That was Jubilee Alpha's first run of the season. I get where, and it's obviously won at the new track before. But to be honest with you, Nurse Susan obviously was well touted as well in this race, and it ran in the Martin Pipe last year. Ran no start of race, finished 9th. Game Colours, you couldn't count that out either each way, but to be honest with you, I'm all over Seo Gal, and I think 9-2 is a whopper of price. And if even it drifts in each way price, I couldn't put you off back in each way. I think it's one of the bets the whole weekend. So it's Shio Gal for me, yeah.
To correct myself, of course, that run was at Wincanton. Joe, do you see that same form line upholding, or would you be in agreement with Jamie and his analysis?
Yeah, no, I do. I'm a big fan as well. I had it between herself and Game Colours, who Jamie just mentioned there as well. Game Colours is one of these horses that's really starting to learn, but sort of like in the second half of her career. She's always been quite consistent, but her run last time out was fully encouraging. And the fact that we've got Sean Bowen in the saddle for her run here this time, conditions look really good for her as well. I think the race will probably set up for the way that she likes to run. She's got plenty of speed, plenty of stamina. She just looks a solid all-round each way bet to me, Liam. But with how bullish Jamie is on his mare, you know, I wouldn't be as strong as that on mine. So take your pick, really. But both are on my radar anyway. But Game Colours is the each way angle for now.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Obviously, Game Colours finished third behind the Looper, who went on to score at Cheltenham as well. Steve, what would you like in this? What is the bet?
I'm going to throw a third one in there, so it probably isn't very helpful for listeners. I'm with Nurse Susan here. Now, obviously, beaten 25 lengths, 48 lengths, and 25 lengths on her previous 3 starts. But she did win this race 2 years ago. Woodou obviously won it last year. When she won this in 2023, that was off a mark of 125 and followed up at Lingfield on her next start off a mark of 129. Now, she had an injury. She was off 418 days before they chucked her into the Martin Pipe. Obviously ran no sort of race that's quite big on your comeback. She's disappointed in her next 2 runs, but as a result has now dropped down to a mark of 127. So £2 higher than when she won this 2 years ago, and a lower mark than what she followed up at on her next start. But she's well handicapped off that mark, and it's just whether this is going to be the target. I thought around 8-1 is worth a little bit in order to try and find out. But she'd be a win-only selection at that price. I wouldn't bother backing her each way. I think she's kind of boom or bust.
To less muddy the waters, I completely agree, Steve. So yeah, that would be my selection in the race. I don't think this is going to be a renewal like it was last year, was it? Where we had Joyeuse, who went on to win what was formerly the Betfair Hurdle, now of course the William Hill Hurdle. Royal Margot, who went on to win a race, I think it was a listed race at Warwick. There's not this sort of class in this field, is there, Joe?
No, I don't think so, mate. No, it's just it's a good competitive handicap to finish the day. That's what it is.
Yeah. Perfect. Skip over. Let's go up north to Doncaster, and in the handicap chase over 3 miles, well, just shy of El Salido, who cannot stop winning, the second favourite to Doc Pick Me, and then we got Prince Zaltar, Joya Mashan having another crack at fences. Obviously, a horse that I'm relatively familiar with, Hurricane Bay. Il Day Jersey, and Earn River, who was always a horse on my radar but couldn't really have it in this particular race. I'm surprised they're actually chasing again with Joya Mashan, given how he performed over offensive previously. Yes, he did manage to win a novice chase, but he didn't jump particularly well even on that day. Joe, I'll stick with you. Alcedo, he's obviously on a good run. Is he just a little bit of an unstoppable force at the moment?
Yeah, I'm not really too sure. Look, he's a horse that I've labelled for quite some time now as a horse that's going to be quite progressive. I don't know how progressive he actually is, despite winning last time out. He won off 20. He's got a £6 rise. Ned Fox on again, so it's not like that rise is being taken off or anything like that at all. But perhaps the penny has now just dropped for him, and he's learned how to race, and he's probably found his right trip as well. I think even though he won over 2.5 last time out, he looked like a horse that was sort of doing his best work late on, just full of stamina. So the 3 miles is probably going to bring him on plenty. Now, people are saying like the Venetia Williams team aren't necessarily in great form, but they're starting to find their feet. They had Royal Pagaille run a big race. Obviously, Jello's won too. I don't see why Alcedo can't run a big race this weekend as well. And he's the one in a race of unlikely improvers. He's one that could still be on the up a little bit. So there could be a little bit of juice in his handicap mark. 4-1. Yeah, I suppose I'd side with him. I'm struggling, to be honest, at Doncaster, but he'd just about take my fancy, I suppose, here, yeah.
Fair enough. Steve, do you have any more conviction around this race than Joe does?
Yeah, I was more confident on Alcedo than Joe, to be honest. I slightly disagree about the Venetia Williams yard, though. I don't think they have really got going. Obviously, you train your better chasers, I think, better than your handicappers. And I backed one of hers today with good form, fresh, and it pulled up and just basically stopped to a walk. So I think any of hers that actually are winning, I think you could probably upgrade outside of Jello and Royal Pagaille, to be honest, who obviously will have been trained slightly differently, being graded level performers. Alcedo was beaten 53 lengths on his reappearance, but then won at Newcastle last time by a nose. I literally watched it about half an hour ago. And really, really good attitude to get back up and win. Grand Geste travelled all over him that day. On the face of it, you'd say that a £6 rise for a short head or a nose victory is a bit harsh, but they did pull 11 lengths clear of the third. So I do think that probably is okay. I think the step up to 3 miles will definitely suit based on how he stayed on over the 2.5 miles. And yeah, I thought 4-1, that's perfectly fair.
So 2 shouts in kind of the opposite direction to a degree, Jamie, for the Venetia horse. Is there anything else in here that you like as opposed to Alcedo?
Poor race, Liam, to be honest with you. I think it's unoriginal. I'm going to go with the favourite. He still have the same mark that he won the Yorkshire Chase on the 25th of January of this year, off 129. Obviously, he was beaten out the gate the last day by confusion in the rehearsal chase by 18 lengths. Stephanie Silent was second for the Skeletons. Charlie Maggs on board. Look, he beat the Changing Man, who is forever the second or third bridesmaid in every race. Third, obviously, in the Coral Gold Cup behind Panic Attack. He's off the same mark. He likes Doncaster. He was second, obviously, at Doncaster. I think it was this race last year, I think. Yeah, he was second in this race last year. So, yeah, it's unoriginal. It's a poor race, so I go Doc Pick Me Up.
Perfect. There we are. So one of the top two wins. We'll skip on to the 1440 over 3 miles. Katira, really impressive. Obviously, when downing not only the current champion hurdler, but also, of course, the fighting 5th winner as well, when she underperformed on that day. 4 to 6 odds on World of Fortunes in here, with Jordan Gainford on board. 9 to 2, a horse that I've really liked, taking a bit of a drift in the market. Beth Pays, and you've got La Vida Adiva and Molto Bene, providing I pronounce them all correctly. Jamie, I'll stick with you. Is this just a penalty kick for Katira?
Yeah, penalty kick and move on, Liam. Yeah, 4 to 6. She gets beaten. She's poor horse if she can't beat these. So yeah, she should win 4 to 6. If you want to in the, as I say, the old Mugiakas, put her in.
Okie doke. Is there a different plan at play, Joe? Does she want to win, and potentially therefore there's something else in here you could bet?
Yeah, that's part of the angle as well. World of Fortune's a horse I know quite well, just because I backed her quite a few times, sort of last season as well. She's no mug. One thing that she does do is travel. She's a really strong traveller. Katira can be a little bit of a baby at times and throw her toys out of the pram. I know we've seen her beat sort of Golden Ace, and people say, "Oh, she beat Golden Ace. There's your piece of form." But obviously, Golden Ace scoped dirty that day. The 9 next behind would do last time is pretty strong form, of course. But Word of Fortune's no mug. So even though I think Katira is going to get the job done at 4 to 6, it might not be a very comfortable watch, because she might even be off the bridle before World of Fortunes. But ultimately, you'd hope Katira could get on top. And I love a shorty, as you know, but I'd be a little bit cautious with this one, because it would probably cause you a bit of stress at the same time watching her try and win at these odds.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I wouldn't be playing at these myself. Steve, do you have any difference of opinion or agreement that Katira is probably the most likely winner?
I'm just quite fascinated how the market's going to do it, really, because if you go on weight adjusted rating, she's clear. But then I think a lot of people will point to the fact that she's never won over 3 miles in a career as a negative. So I do think with these Skelton horses, people can either try and kind of third, second, fourth guess themselves on whether they're actually got a target down the line or not. And actually, I think 4 to 6 is probably value, to be honest. I think if she runs anywhere near her 4th at Ascot, that'll be good enough to win this. If you look back at her 3 mile form, it's not actually that bad. She finished ahead second to Jatara in a grade 2 here last season. A repeat of that again will win this. And I always think when horses are around 4 to 6, would I prefer to be a backer or a layer? And for her at 4 to 6, I prefer to back her.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And the final race over at Doncaster, the 317 handicap hurdle, class 2. Bowmore is in at favourite at 5 to 2. Lanesborough 4 to 1. Amincio 6s. Washington 6 to 1 for Harry Durham, and Willie the Builder, obviously formerly with Dan Skelton, now with Christian Williams, 13 to 2. Seeing a little bit of support over the course of the week. There's a few others in here who've placed towards the bottom of the market at Cheltenham Festivals in the past. Call Me Air being the one that catches my eye from that perspective. Anyhow, Steve, stick with yourself. Is there anything you like in here, and if so, why?
I'd probably chance Washington win only, to be honest. A bit of an all or nothing profile. Form figures of 1-1, 0-0, 1-0. So very much is win or bust. And I look back at the poor performances, and I couldn't really find any excuses, to be honest, with regards to track, to regards to ground. I suppose the one thing you could say is the quality of the race. They were in the old Betfair Hurdle and a couple of Class 2 handicaps. Obviously, he's still in a Class 2 handicap here, but then you go back and has won a listed handicap hurdle over at Fairyhouse. Now, Megan Fox takes over, not that one. He's booked to claim £7 off him. Also gets the ride on Brentford Hope tomorrow at the time of recording, so on the Friday. I think she's going to be quite a good rider, to be honest. She's running for both Ben Paulding and Harry Derham, and they know know what they're talking about. She seems to have taken over from Alice Stevens as the second jockey, really, for the Harry Denman yard. And yeah, around 6-1, definitely a horse with back form. He's now a 9-year-old. Is relatively lightly raced, and yeah, I'd probably just go win only. But yeah, it's definitely boom or bust. I wouldn't back him each way.
And Joe?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been very cautious this evening, but Steve's backing horses that are all or nothing. James on the shorties, which is a little bit unusual. So it's a funny weekend of racing, really. I quite like Amancio here for Faye Bramley. She's done really well with the mare called Pagan. She's got Glen Gooley running the December Gold Cup this weekend as well. And Amancio was really impressive last time out at Sedgefield. Okay, probably not a track that would be on my radar for a horse and switching and coming to Doncaster, but won really easily. There's just plenty to like going forward. And like Steve said, I like Washington, but he is all or nothing, isn't he? And so he's a little bit risky. Willie the Builder hasn't quite hit the heights we were expecting. Bowmore's done well since joining Charlie Longston from Henry de Bromhead. But again, Amancio just looks like the one in the field to me that could be open to genuine improvement. Again, Benjamin Macy in the saddle, taking off £7. He's only off a mark of 122 as it is. There's got to be more improvement in him still. And again, he's an each way price. So caution to the wind, nice muggy 6-1 each way shot with Amancio, I think.
There we are, perfect. And that's a little bit of a wrap. We are going to come to our best bets of the weekend. So you can include anything from Friday, Saturday through till Sunday. But first of all, Steve.
Get me there, Liam.
No, we don't know your
blue,
thoughts.
orange,
Not
black,
interested.
purple, or whatever.
We're really not interested, Jamie.
All right, so I'll move on.
I do apologise. Go on, mate.
No, I'll move on.
No, I'm minding you.
Don't soak. You're not allowed to soak on the show.
Soak,
Who you got?
No, I'm
Jamie,
not.
I
So
do
I
apologise.
have nothing. No, go on.
Okie doke.
No, you mentioned the horse, but sure, Joe says I'm picking shorties all night, insulting me. But
that wasn't an
Cormier
insult.
as well.
No. Don't take it the wrong
jokes
way.
aside, I really fancy Cormier. I think this is the day.
Oh, do you, Jay?
I do. I really do.
There we are. There's a prize for everyone.
No, 25-1. Has obviously won a hurdle race since the something of March 2022 off a mark 134. So he's £18 lower than his last hurdle mark. Obviously ran the last day at Haydock behind Cabral de Mathan. But the only thing, 2 starts ago, he won by 3.5 lengths at Nottingham over a mile and 6 on heavy ground. So obviously last year off 124 was 15 lengths behind Cracking Rhapsody in the Moor Battle. Anna Lamb was second of that. Look at what Anna Lamb's done. So I think the last day, I think he's a 2-miler over hurdles. They've tried further distances. I understand that. But I think it was a shock to the system because he hasn't run hurdles for about 6 months beforehand. Sorry, 10 months, what am I saying? So, yeah, I think this is his day. 25-1 I think is massive. So, yeah, I think he's a great each way bet. Cormier, yeah.
I love that, Jamie, and I deeply apologise. Sorry.
And me, Jamie. I'm sorry for saying you're back in shorties today. I apologise.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for it. Then he goes, and I'm waiting to say the 25-1 shot. I'm back in shorties.
Oh, good.
There we are. Jamie,
talk about a setup.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. We planned it all. I'll certainly be following him with a couple of pence each way on that. He made a decent case for it. So yes, we are going to give our best bets of the weekend, one each. We can perhaps make a lucky 15 out of it for those that like to play those sort of bets. But before we do so, Steve, it'd be really good to get your insight for the Cheltenham Festival. So many people love obviously betting from an Ante-Post perspective. And as long as the words Django Bay come out of your mouth on a few occasions, then I'll be happy. But no, in all seriousness, over Christmas, do you have any kind of best bets or angles for anybody? And of course for the festival itself?
No, I found the Christmas stuff quite difficult at the minute. I haven't really got a handle on the King George. I do think it's going to be an absolute cracker, to be honest. Yeah, Cheltenham Festival wise, I had a bet the other day. I backed Factor File for the Champion Chase. That was off the back of a bit of a switcheroo for JP. I just think John Bond's now going to go up in trip. I don't think they'll be able to resist the lure of the Cheltenham Festival, so he'll run in the Ryanair. And I just think if JP's never won the Champion Chase, I think he'll probably have better claims with Factor File, and then I think he'd prefer to have Factor File running in the Champion Chase. I'll ask you, all three of you here, you're all punters. What price, no run and no bet, would Factor File be in the Champion Chase right now? Personally, I think he'll be. I think he'll be sub 4-1.
Well, I was going to say sub fives. I said you won't get an each way price for them. That's for sure.
No.
So do you actually believe, because the way I see it with Factifile is Willie Mullins has the best middle distance horse in his yard. Is he really going to take him away from the race he's the best at, try risk winning it with something else, and then it double down and backfire? Or is the non-runner no bet an angle that's available at the moment?
No, it's not available.
It's not Willie Mullins' decision. That's what we have to keep reminding.
JP is the only owner in that yard that will do what he wants. Yes. That's why he ran in the Brown Advisory. Like, if JP wants him to run in the Champion Chase, he'll run in the Champion Chase. And I just think that he'll have a better chance of winning that. You can completely discount that run at Punchestown. That just wasn't him when they tried the 2 mile experiment. And I think Marshborough will be better jumping wise going up in trip. And I think if you look at it now, outside of Factor 5, I think the Ryanair is a weak race. I think you've got the likes of Django Bay, Gaelic Warrior, the Jukebox Man, who I think are probably more likely to go Gold Cup rather than the Ryanair. And I think on the day you could have John Bon and Marshborough both 3-4 to 1 shots in a Ryanair, and you have Factor 5 at 3 to 1 in a Champion Chase against Liberté Tom, who has question marks around Cheltenham. I just think that, I don't think for a few quid at 25 to 1, I don't think that's the worst bet in the world.
And his one effort when being dropped in trip, Steve, wouldn't put you off the fact that they may try to go back in trip again.
Well, you do get the price, like Steve said, to be fair. So even though I don't think it's going to happen, you can't argue that if you were sat on 25 to 1 for Factifile to win a Champion Chase, that you wouldn't be buzzing with your ticket, because you would be, wouldn't you? What if Marshborough comes out and jumps poorly next time, though, as well? Are they just going to go, okay, well, John Bon it is? Because John Bon might be a little bit vulnerable to maybe Django Bay and a few horses like him. Do you not feel? Or
if I owned John Bon, I'd be going for the Melling Chase and just completely skipping Cheltenham. But I don't think they'll be able to resist the temptation of going to the Cheltenham Festival. But yeah, he's for him to do that, and I know I've got lots of stick for jump indexes, but he was a 6.0 at Cheltenham. He was a 6.2 the other day in the Tingle Creek. Like, for him to get as close to Liberté Tom, I think he was beating 9 lengths and 9 lengths ahead of Loderside with a 6.2 jump index. Like, that was a really good performance, and that just shows that the engine's still there. He's just better at Aintree. I think he's won all 4 starts there. It was impressive in the Mailing Chase. Like, I'd go there, but yeah, whether they can resist the Ryanair Chase, I don't think so.
They won't resist. They won't resist now. He's a 10-year-old, will they? They might even use this season as sort of his last swan song. What about the novices, Steve? Lulamba, Kopek, Romeo, 2 miles.
I really like Romeo Coolio. I absolutely loved that performance last time. I really wanted Kopek de Board to run at Christmas against him, because I thought it'd be interesting to see if he could lay up with him over 2 mile 1, and then you'd have the experiment pre-Christmas. But we're not going to get that, are we? So I think they'll probably win that race. I think, knowing Gordon Elliott, he'll probably avoid the DRF like he does normally. So you're not going to get the answer of that in the Irish Arkle. So you'll probably have Romeo Coolio winning the Old Racing Post Novices Chase over 2 mile 1 at Christmas. You'll then have Kopek de Board winning the Irish Arkle, and then hopefully you'll have Lulamba winning either the Game Spirit or the Kingmaker, and you've got all 3 unbeaten going into an Arkle, which could be the race of the festival.
That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Like Gold Cup, Steve? Galopan, can he come back? Or are you worried about the setback?
It does worry me. I've always thought he was a better horse at Leopardstown than what he is at Cheltenham. So I think it'll probably be a big call if Willie Mullins then goes the Tremor Gold Cup route, the old album photo route, and avoid Leopardstown. Willie Mullins, when he's in interviews, is really fascinating, because he classes like the Irish Gold Cup as a proper race that he wants to win. He's like, this isn't a stepping stone to the Cheltenham Festival. So I think if he gives up the opportunity in order to win that with Galopan, I was there at the DRF last year. Like, it's probably one of the best atmospheres I've ever had on a race course. And if he gives up that opportunity to try and get him back to win a Gold Cup, I'd probably be with him. Yeah,
we were all in the stands as well. I definitely felt that atmosphere. Champion Hurdle, Steve, where are you at right now?
I was with Lossie last year, and I'm with Lossie again this year. I just think she comes alive. I think you could probably discard most of her form throughout the season. I just think she just comes alive at the Cheltenham Festival. Obviously, Triumph Hurdle winner, 2-time Mares Hurdle winner, and hopefully this year she gets the chance in the Champion Hurdle, partly because of my bet on Woodo in the Mares Hurdle itself. That'll also help that out.
What was the last one? I just had one more in my head. It's completely gone.
there a handicapper on your radar,
Oh,
Steve?
you can't ask him for a handicapper this time of the season.
Wow, mine expects one, so
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
No, I'll keep that until the weights come out.
Secret.
Perfect. So there we are. In terms of this weekend, then you can cover off anything from Friday through till Sunday, even perhaps if it's not even priced up. But your best bet of the weekend, we might be able to create a lucky 15 for those that are watching. Jaime Wrenn, I'll start with you. I hope it's going to start with the words 25 and the second words are 2-1. What's your best bet of the weekend?
Oh no, the best bet of the whole weekend is the first race tomorrow at Cheltenham, trained by Nicky Henderson. I've been really impressed with him at Kempton the last day. It's called Old Park Star. He's 9-4, and I was really impressed at Kempton. I think he'll win, and I'll give you one for the cross country. I know his mark is 117 officially, but it ran off 133 last year in the same race, and it was, look, I know it went out early. And look, there's an Emmett Mullins, Paul Burnhurst, who's backed off the board at 72 to read the list. But ECO Madrick, who I think it was with Pipe, but it's gone back to Cotton for those colours, same colours as on Tom's Part 2, that crowd. He's running off 130 this time. Look, he's taking out the handicap because he's obviously running a way higher mark than he would in France. But I like the way he jumped the first couple last year in the same race. And he was taken out at the canal, they call it the canal turn in the cross country. He's very interesting at 8-1 each way in that cross country, so I'd be backing him. But I think the bet of the whole weekend is the first race tomorrow, Old Park Star. I think he'll win, yeah. I think he's a very good horse.
There we are, perfect. Mine's going to come on the Friday as well. Maybe we previewed the wrong day. Joe, best bet of the weekend?
I'll go with the French recruit Kim Rock in the December Gold Cup. I said I think this is a horse that could be hugely thrown in against, in this sort of handicap, and on a second start, he's got a lot to offer. Yeah.
Perfect. So there we are. We've definitely got two different races. Steve?
Yeah, no one's going to go with mine. I'm going to risk never being asked back on the show again and go to the 5:15 at Newcastle on Saturday.
No, do it, Steve. Do it.
This is a Class 2 0 to 105 7 furlong handicap. I think it's going to be the day for Pocklington to get his head back in front. Now, he's won his first two all-weather starts and then somehow was beaten a short head on his reappearance over 6 furlongs in June off a mark of 94. Then ran on turf, so he was beaten 3/4 of a length at York, half a length at York, and a short head at Doncaster. All of those were over 6 furlongs and 6.5 furlongs, and off marks of either 95 or 96. In all of those, he just looks as if he's screaming for 7 furlongs. It's the first time that he steps up to 7 furlongs. He's off a mark of 96, which I'm sure he's still handicapped off. One bookmaker has priced it up and it's 15-8. And yeah, I think this is the day that Pocklington can get his head back in front.
There we are, love it. And we can round it off with a proper lucky 15, because I appreciate I haven't really given much of an opinion on most of the races. However, mine would come tomorrow in the last at Cheltenham, and he's available. I've just seen now he has been clipped in. Prior to the show, he's still available at around about 11s, but 8-1 I think is top price. Titan Discovery, his form running on soft ground or worse, it will be soft. Ignore the good stuff, it will be soft, especially come the end of tomorrow. His form on soft or worse ground is first, second, fourth. He has basically operated on the same MO as last season, one prep run, then into a large handicap. The handicap he won last season at Windsor after a preparation. The second has gone up £2. The third's gone up £3. The fourth has gone up £6. The fifth has gone up half a stone, and even the sixth and the eighth are now weighted higher. So they've all progressed from that. He won well that day. Soft conditions is where it's at. He's got a little bit of course form, albeit it was the April meeting. It was over a inadequate trip, over the intermediate trip, and he was never going to win that day because Doyen Quest was absolutely bolted in off a real lowly rating, and it was on good ground. He'll love the ground, he'll love the trip, and he's got a little bit of course form to speak of, having finished 6th of 15. So Titan Discovery, who's available in between kind of 8-1, perhaps even double figures still. Let's hope that is the case. I would have to consult Oddschecker's grids, but yeah, Titan Discovery in the last for me tomorrow. So there is your 4 bets. Anything else to add from yourself, lads?
Don't think so. No. What we got next week? Ascot. We got an Ascot preview next week. Ollie Gedge.
It does, and we'll try our best, I'm sure, to power through. It kind of quietens down, doesn't it, as we dip into the excuse me, the busy Christmas festival period. Can't wait for all of that action. Steve, where can people catch you next? Are you on Racing TV over the course of the festive period at all?
I'm on Racing TV on the 20th of December, but it's a day where basically Sky Sports Racing have all of the racing other than Haydock. So I think the first race on that day is 11:45 at Haydock, so I'll be home for sort of 5 o'clockish.
Oh, there we are. Perfect. In time for Christmas with the family. Steve, really appreciate your time. Thank you ever so much for joining us. Obviously, you know where Steve's tips are available over at Oddschecker, and no doubt you'll see him on your television screens on Racing TV anyhow. Boys, great to chat as always. Let us know your best bet of the weekend in the comments. And as always, if you could like and subscribe, obviously it costs you nothing, and we really do appreciate all the interactions and the following of the channel. And we will see you again most likely next week for the review of the last week's action.